This is an SKN Newsline feature presentation.
I'm and welcome to St. Kitts Nevis Votes 2020. This is a daily show that's looking at the elections coming up on June 5th, 2020 here in St. Kitts Nevis. We're providing you analysis, features, profiles on constituencies and candidates, and all the works right here on this program. We'll air 12 noon every day, Monday to Friday. On today's program, we'll be taking a look at constituency number 2, contested by Marcella Liburd and Janelle Powell. We're providing you profiles on each candidate and provide you the numbers, crunching the numbers from our political analysts. But before we get into all of that, let's take a look at what's happening in the election world here in St. Kitts Nevis with election news.
Adjustments have been made to polling stations for the June 5th general election in St. Kitts Nevis to abide by the COVID-19 guidelines. Supervisor of Elections, Mr. Elvin Bailey, in a national address on Friday, briefly outlined these measures.
Electoral workers and party agents will themselves adhere to COVID rules. Stations will be apportioned into hardly more than 450 to 500 voters. All voters will be expected to wear a mask while standing in line. Persons are expected to stand 6 feet apart while waiting their turn to vote. Upon entry into the polling station, persons will be required to sanitize their hands and temporarily remove their masks for ease of identification. Remember, the staff at the polling station will be equipped with a voter identification list or a picture list. After voting, the voter will be required to cleanse the dipping finger in an alcoholic solution before dipping in the indelible ink. Periodically, about every hour, the table surfaces and the poll box will be disinfected. There will be an additional poll clerk per station whose duty will be to identify and give preference to the fragile elderly, differentially abled persons, and persons who identify and can prove to have pre-existing conditions. Electoral staff will be clearly identifiable by the vest they are wearing.
The Supervisor of Elections listed the 11 returning officers that will be serving the constituencies in the upcoming election.
Constituency 1, Jermaine Lake. Constituency 2, Ms. Sharon Hanley. Constituency 3, Melvin Basu. Constituency 4, Miguel Thomas. Constituency 5, Dr. Vincent Hodge. Constituency 6, Edwin Warner. Constituency 7, Dr. Patrick Welcome. Constituency 8, Philip Brown. Constituency 9, Kevin Barrett. Constituency 10, Rohan Claxton. And Constituency 11, Mrs. Ermeletta Elliott.
He also listed the places where nomination of candidates will take place on nomination day, May 27th.
Consistent with the National Assembly Elections Act, nominations for duly qualified candidates to contest this election will take place at the following places, again between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. and will be attended to by its returning officer. The nomination sites are Constituency 1, Police Training School. Constituency 2, the McKnight Community Center. Constituency 3, St. Johnson's Community Center. Constituency 4, the Old Road Community Center. Constituency 5, the Sandy Point Community Center. Constituency 6, the Deep Bay Police Station. Constituency 7, Tabernacle Police Station. Constituency 8, St. Peter's Community Center. Constituency 9, the Bath Community Center. Constituency 10, the David Freeman Center of Excellence at Market Shop, Constituency 11, Cotton Ground Community Center. Candidates must be nominated by at least 2 registered voters of the constituency in which the candidate seeks election, subject to the conditions set out in Section 62, Part 4 of the Act. In due course, an announcement will be made of the successfully nominated candidates.
Meanwhile, the supervisor also listed the places where ballots will be counted on election night in the various constituencies.
The ballots will be counted by the returning officer and 1 or more assistants as necessary, starting at about 8 p.m. at the following places: Constituency 1, Police Training School; Constituency 2, the Old Girls School on Victoria Road; Constituency 3, the St. Johnson's Community Center; Constituency 4, at the Virchiles High School; Constituency 5, at the Sandy Point Community Center; Constituency 6, at the Deep Bay Police Station; Constituency 7, the Tabernacle Police Station; Constituency 8, St. Peter's Community Center; Constituency 9, the Red Cross Building in Charlestown; Constituency 10, the Hanley's Road Community Center; and Constituency 11, the Cotton Ground Police Station.
There are over 45,000 registered voters. Polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. on June 5th. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. The Nevis Reformation Party launched its election campaign on Friday night in Cotton Ground at its party headquarters. Bjorn Hanley was unveiled officially as the NRP candidate for number 10 to challenge the incumbent Evelyn of the Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM. Mr. Hanley was endorsed by his mother, a former NRP candidate, Patricia Hanley.
My son is a humble man. My son, he is dedicated. And all he comes here to do is to serve. Yes. He just wants to serve you. Yes. He just wants to serve you, the people of Gingerland. Yes. Nothing more. He just wants to serve.
Mr. Hanley announced plans for the constituency, including reviving agriculture and the Gingerland market.
My first order of the day, I will open up a constituency office. So as your representative, you will be able to come to the constituency office and lodge your complaints, lodge your skills, and we will get to know you better, and we will look at your skills, and if you are in need of a job, I will provide that job.
Acting party leader Dr. Kelvin Daly will be contesting Nevis 9 versus Premier Mark Brantley. He said he will be tackling poverty in the constituency with a focus on providing jobs, especially in the Bath community.
3-year, $40 million plan to redevelop Bath Village. It involves housing. Has to be. 40 units every year for 3 years. These are our seismic, transformative, rent-to-own units. We know the program. I don't have to spell it out for you. You pay your rent. After 3 years, whatever is accumulated for rent goes toward the down payment on the unit. For poor people can't have the down payment. For those persons who are more affluent, we have another program for you. 0% down, 5% interest.
Meanwhile, perennial NRP parliamentarian Patrice Nisbet touted his record as a member of the Denzel Douglas administration from 2010 to 2015.
I was able to introduce legislation which says that after 10 years and you choose to retire from your employment, you will receive a golden handshake, so to speak. You will get money in your pocket. That is how people work for people. That is how people empower people. And these are lasting returns on the investment that the good people of St. Thomas has made in me.
NRP leader Roberto Hector who was previously off island, unable to return to the Federation because the borders were closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, spoke at the event on Friday via video link. He was reportedly in quarantine on St. Kitts. He claimed he was denied entry into Nevis by the Nevis Air and Seaports Authority, NASPA.
I surely wish that I could be with you, but I would say to you, I was denied entry and landing permission to my own country by NASPA and the Nevis Island Administration. But I am here, so I advise you to do the right thing. Stay safe. I ask you to observe all that is necessary because we are in a time when we truly need to take safe practices. I wish you all well, and I hope to join you all soon.
Audrey Huey, SKN Newsline. Candidate for the Concerned Citizens Movement, Nevis 10, Eric Evelyn, said his comments on having two jobs as a government minister were taken out of context. The opposition Nevis Reformation Party, NRP, criticized Mr. Evelyn for these comments he made during a CCM virtual meeting last week.
Numerous persons in Nevis actually have two jobs and are getting two pay. And I want to ask the persons out there, the Nevisians, who have been latching on to this nonsense about the two pay. Those of you who are working for government and then you get a second job at Four Seasons, do you work for free? Do you tell Four Seasons, don't bother to pay me, I'm already getting a salary?
At the launch of its campaign on Friday night, the lone NRP representative in the Nevis Island Assembly, Cleone Stapleton Simmons, took Mr. Evelyn to task over the comments.
But I think on this occasion they went a little bit too far, my dear people, a little bit too far. Because here it is. We had a minister of government. And the fact that he's a minister of government, that should tell you that his earnings is not any minor earnings. We're talking about mega earnings. People who are earning within the 1%. They are what I would call above scale salary, high salaries. And this particular minister was able to justify to say that it is not immoral and nothing is wrong with him taking home two salaries. And he equate that to the same thing as ordinary people like you. You the hard and working and dedicated people of Nevis, the single mothers, working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. He was able to justify that to say that him earning 2 government salaries as a minister, that is the same thing as you.
However, Mr. Evelyn said his comments were in relation to those in the NRP hierarchy who he said were waiting on the party to be elected to get a job.
The statement was absolutely taken out of context. I have nothing to apologize for. I said it on the following night of the campaign that I was referring to the hierarchy of the NRP who are not working and have not sought to find meaningful employment anywhere. And I've made it absolutely clear that the hierarchy of the NRP, they sit around and wait for the NIA elections to try to get a job, hoping that the government will change. And they have that same attitude for the federal election. And I was specifically speaking about the hierarchy of the NRP. Everybody in Nevis knows me, and I'm one who always fight for the right of people. I have values and principles, and I have done so much since I'm in government to assist persons to get a job. So why should I be talking about persons not working and not having a job? It was absolutely taken out of context. The NRP knows that. They have absolutely no issues, and they're trying to make an issue out of this. The people of Nevis know me, and they know me very well. I am caring, compassionate, and there is not one member of the NRP who has a record like me in terms of my public service.
There has been much debate on Nevis as to whether ministers in the Nevis Island administration who serve in the federal government should be accepting both salaries. The opposition NRP argued that while it is not illegal to do this, it is immoral. Mr. Evelyn does not agree. The NRP said in the past its representatives who have served in both governments only took the higher of the 2 salaries. The party has since included in its constitution that none of its elected representatives would be allowed to serve in both governments. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. Stay tuned to all things COVID-19 with SKN Newsline. Download our Android mobile app, search SKN Newsline in the Google Play Store, and tap COVID-19 Stories, and watch every story we have ever done on the COVID-19 pandemic. You can also visit our website, www.sknewsline.com. Tap on the COVID-19 link and watch all our COVID-19 stories in our YouTube playlist. SKN Newsline, keeping you abreast of all things St. Kitts and Nevis and COVID-19.
Welcome back to St. Kitts Nevis Votes 2020. I'm Andre Huey, your host. Well, before the break, we had our news, giving you a recap of some of the major news stories as it relates to the elections here in St. Kitts Nevis. As I promised you at the start of the show, we have election profiles on the candidates for constituency number 2. We'll start with the incumbent, Marcella Liburd of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party.
Central Bastille, St. Christopher number 2, is proving to be a crucial constituency in the June 5 elections. The incumbent is the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Marcella Liburd, who has held that seat for the past 10 years. She is by no means a political neophyte, because even before she was involved in representational politics, she had early exposure from her family.
I'm not so sure I really wanted to get into politics in this way. I was always involved in politics because I came from a political family. I had a brother who was a minister of government before, as you know, Fitzroy Bryan. My mother was always very involved in labor women and so on. So I come from a political family. And so I was always involved in the politics, young labor and so on. I was a campaign manager at one point for Dwight Astafan when he ran as the candidate for Central Bastille. And being a Central Bastille person, I was always involved in that way, but never dreamt that I would be involved in the way I am. No, this happened just, just like that.
Eventually, her active community involvement did not go unnoticed by party leader Dr. Denzel Douglas.
After Dwight Astafan was finishing, the process was that the branches would submit the names of persons who they think could be the candidates, to replace him. My name happened to be one that was put up by the branch. I never gave much thought to it, even when my name was put up by the branch. And the way the process works, I think they carry out some poll in the constituency. And so when the polls were finished, I was called by Dr. Douglas to have the results of the poll read out to me, and found out that I was doing the best of the persons who were there. And so I was encouraged to go out as a result, and that's how I actually became involved at this level.
Ms. Liburd has served the constituency for 2 terms, and in her view, much was accomplished.
On a governmental level, we did massive paving of roads throughout Central Bastille, in the McKnight area, Nevis Street, Dorset, Shadwell Housing, Pine Garden, quite a lot of paving of roads. Actually, we had a program that we were going to continue if we had won in 2015, but quite a bit of job was done in that regard. We were able to transform the community center up at Victoria Road into a place that could be used for dance. There was no place for people who were involved in dance to use, and so it was transformed, renovated and improved strictly for that purpose. We had an emphasis on our children who had no place to really play and to learn from each other, and so of course we have the New Road Family Park. We also improved Dorset Park so that we'd have an area there also for our children and parents, because with the benches and so on around, they can help in that regard.
Still, there's a lot more to be done.
Right now, as it stands in the constituency, of course, the main focus, as you know, because of the effects of the COVID, has to do with job situation and health. But jobs in particular, because right now hundreds of the constituents are not working, and in one home you could find 2 and 3 persons not working right now. So it's a very dire situation when it comes to income, and then so many people have been left outside of the so-called stimulus package of the government because they assigned it to Social Security, which is illegal. But when they go there, many of them are saying, oh, you don't qualify because you haven't paid Social Security, or for some other reason. I didn't know that's what the stimulus was about. I thought the stimulus was to provide income support to all who were affected by COVID and had absolutely nothing to do with Social Security. So for example, the preschool and nursery school private owners who I speak with regularly tell me how much they're suffering. Some of them are not sure if they'll be able to reopen those places. Even some other small businesses, which they call non-essential, who are to close down for such long periods of time. Many of these people are saying to me, we have to continue to pay our rent even though we're not getting a cent in.
Talk about Marcella Liburd as a member of parliament. I think you have to look at perhaps two of the most significant pieces of legislation that he had been able to champion or navigate through the parliament. And both of those are very important in the lives of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. The first, I think, has to do with the domestic violence issue. And the second has to do with equal pay for equal work.
As the voters come out to vote in number 2, Ms. Liburd is expressing confidence that she will once again be the representative for Central Bastille.
To me, you have to be on the right side of history, and this is a party that has been there for the ordinary people of the country for over the 80 whatever years that has been in existence. And so that is where my heart is, making sure you want to take care of everybody, but you have to pay attention to those who are most vulnerable and who can least take care of themselves. And I believe that is what government is for, to provide that kind of balance so that those persons who could least take care of themselves, you are there to help them to live a decent life.
That's our candidate profile on Marcella Liburd of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Now we'll take a look at Janelle Powell of the People's Action Movement.
He is one of the few young candidates contesting the elections, but he comes from political clout. This is the second time Janelle Powell, chairman of the People's Action Movement, PAM, will be contesting the St. Christopher No. 2 Central Bastille up against a political stalwart Marcella Liburd. Even though he comes from a political family, Janelle was not keen on entering politics until after he returned to the country from university.
I've always been interested in politics, perhaps it's because of my family history. My uncle was the founder of the People's Action Movement. My twice great uncle was the founder of the Workers' League, which is the predecessor to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. And so I've always been interested in politics. I've always been quite vocal. Having gone away and studied, worked abroad for a couple of years and came home, and having at all times kept up with the policies and the politics here in St. Kitts and Nevis. At that point, I did not agree with the policies of the then Labour administration. I thought that there was a lot of well-needed change in St. Kitts and Nevis in so many different facets of society. And I thought, after being very vocal and in different forms and forums, I thought, why be one of those persons who just stands on the side of the road and criticizes and just talks? Why not get up and do something about it? And so I made the decision to enter the field of elected politics.
He felt he was so close the last election in 2015, he should have won the seat, and he is confident he will do it this time around.
I'm very confident, and I believe that the people are confident of my victory, because it's not a victory for Janelle Powell, it's a victory for Central Bastille. This is our time now, and I have their backs and I know they have mine. And I think that come the 5th of June, the people of Central Bastille will overwhelmingly vote for further change in this country by electing me as the elected representative here in Central Bastille.
His political opponents have argued that he is not ready to contest parliamentary elections. Some even cited a legal matter he is involved with that is still in the court as a deterrent to his electability.
Janelle is not ready, he's not ready totally, and he personally, not that he's not able, but he's not ready.
I believe among the young people and even among the older persons, I think that his message is reaching the ears and hearts of persons. The question is, can he maintain the kind of support that he had in the last election and build upon that.
But Janelle believes he is the one suited to become MP for number 2. We will all know after June 5th.
I believe in what the People's Action Movement has said. I believe in the track record of the People's Action Movement and all the things that they've done for young people, for the working class, for women in the 1980s, and the role that the People's Action Movement has played in Team Unity over the past 5 years in terms of the social policies, the assistance in terms of roofing assistance to thousands of persons in St. Kitts and Nevis, the poverty alleviation program, $500 a month, job opportunities, the highest number of business licenses being issued to small businesses. This is the kind of policies that I believe in, and so that is why I am where I am today.
June 5th is Election Day in St. Kitts and Nevis. SKN Newsline is your source for all things elections. Starting Monday, May 25th, SKN Newsline presents St. Kitts and Nevis Votes 2020, a program providing updates, features, profiles, and analysis on candidates, constituencies, and issues as the country headed to the polls. Weekdays at 12 noon live on sknnewsline.com and the SKN Newsline Facebook page. St. Kitts and Nevis Votes 2020 on SKN Newsline, your source for election news and analysis. I'm Andre Huey and welcome back to St. Kitts Nevis Votes 2020. Well, now we're going to crunch the numbers. We're going to take a closer look at the constituencies that in the various constituencies here in St. Kitts Nevis for the June 5th elections. Now, our focus today is on constituency number 2. We gave you the profiles of the candidates. Right now, we're going to take a closer look at the performance of that constituency over the last few years and what we can expect for June 5th. To do that, we have a political pollster and analyst, Peter Wickham of Cadres in Barbados.
Okay, well, normally I would say it is a marginal seat. Not normally, it is a marginal seat. I think what confuses people with number 2 is the fact that it is a large seat, over 4,000 voters. And the presumption is that in the context of a large seat, and 98, the margin last time it was around 98, is that it looks to be less marginal than it really is. But in the final analysis, it is a marginal seat. You have a person who's a senior politician in the shape of Marcella Liburd coming up against the chairman of the party, Jonelle Powell, and it's a significant factor. Last time around, that seat did not benefit from as much of an increase in terms of the overseas vote as others. There was only a 17% increase, and I think that says that it was not targeted as much by the overseas vote, and I think the overseas vote would make less of a difference in that constituency. What we're looking for in number 2 is to see whether Powell will be able to stimulate a level of swing towards Team Unity, or whether Marcella Liburd can essentially mitigate that swing. The swing that is needed for that to change is a 1% swing, which is very, very insignificant. We were polling and showing that the swing in this election was at the order of 2 or 3%. So all things being equal, it is a seat that could change hands because we're looking at 1 percentage point over when we did our polling some time ago. Having said that, however, my sense is that with an almost 50-50 break in relation to what the electoral vote was, it will be a constituency to watch because it will be a narrow one. Marcella Liburd is deputy leader, presumably, of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party. She's the second most senior politician. She seemed to have been wearing the hat of leader of the opposition for that short time, even though she wasn't officially designated. So she does have some level of notoriety, one could argue, in the politics of St. Kitts and Nevis. While Powell, as chairman of the party, does carry a significant weight on the other side. So it's a constituency that I'm watching. Again, as I said, it's a marginal constituency. It's one that can change depending on the level of swing, and I think it will be very sensitive to that. But the significant thing in this one is that it was not as affected by number 1 regarding the overseas vote last time around. So I am not thinking that I don't think that the absence of the overseas vote in terms of number 2 will make that huge a difference this time around. I mean, it's an interesting perspective. The idea of the youth in politics my sense is that it is one of the factors that the Labour Party is trading on. So the Labour Party in other areas, not necessarily in number two, is trading on the idea of youth and youthful enthusiasm. So Ambassador Condor, or former Ambassador Condor's comments in that regard are interesting. Generally speaking, an older candidate, a candidate who is entrenched, especially a candidate who is the incumbent and has the incumbent for 2 terms, has a better chance of holding on to a seat, because normally, yes, you have the change factor, but if you're holding a seat in an environment like this as a seasoned politician, the presumption is that you should be able to continue to maintain it. Having said that, however, I would say that the whole idea of change, and change away from Labour, change away from older politicians to younger politicians, that was essentially what the team Unity was selling on the last occasion. And if they're able to successfully sell that on this occasion, Jonelle Powell is exactly the kind of person that they would want to see running. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with Ambassador Condor's point, because certainly he does make a point that Powell is a lot more youthful. At the same time, he's been around politics for a while, and as I said, this is a campaign in which Team Unity sold youth and sold inexperience, one could argue, and sold youthful enthusiasm in the last election campaign successfully. If they are trying to do the same thing again, I would like to think it would be an asset, not necessarily a liability.
And that will do it for this edition of St. Kitts Nevis Votes 2020. I'm your host, Andre Huey. Thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow. We have another great program lined up for you. We're heading over to the sister isle of Nevis to look at one of the constituencies there, providing you constituency profiles on the 2 candidates contesting that particular constituency. And again, we break down the numbers with Peter Wickham. From all of us here at the SKN Newsline, thank you for watching. And do have yourself a pleasant rest of your day.